Okay, in this video clip, I will continue on with helping you with the project, and the method that we are up to now is the new question. That method is found in the class Balloon World. What this method has to do is not only generate random questions, it also must generate an answer and store it in a random location in the array. The array name is num on balloons. In other words, what number comes on the balloons. Okay. And now if you look at, let's say this is the array num on balloons. It starts from 0, goes up to 4 because we have 5 balloons, and we will place random numbers in these. So you need to use a for loop that goes from 0 to 4 and put in random numbers into these locations, but these numbers have to be from random numbers from 1 to 144. Now, it's most important to note that the numbers generated automatically goes from 0 to 1 less than the given number. So we've done enough on random numbers. We know that it starts at 0, and the number that you specify, it goes 1 less. So whatever the number that you actually get, you will have to add 1 to it, because that's the way to get out of having 0 in the location here. Okay, the reason why I've chosen 1 to 144 is because multiplication times table, there it's got from 1 times 1, and the last one is 12 times 12. So 1 times 1 is that, and the 12 times 12 is that. So that's the only possible answers. We're not multiplying by 0, so we don't want 0 as an answer. Okay, so whatever the number that's generated, add 1 and you'll be fine. But then you have to make sure that the number that the upper limit that you choose for the random number has to be something less than that, so that when you add 1, it will still go up to only 144. Okay, get the random number and add 1, right? Another possibility is you could just have a loop that oh no, we'll do it this way, because this is the original solution I worked out without a loop for generating the random number. So whatever the number that's generated, add 1 to it. And then what you have to do is you have to make sure that you're not displaying 145 or 0 or minus numbers. Anyway, you won't get negative numbers randomly generated, so don't have to worry about that. Now let's say we generated some random numbers and we place them in here: 45, 35, 55, 1, and 144. Okay, these are the randomly generated numbers. Now notice we don't have a question yet. We just have to generate random numbers from 1 to 144. And then what we have to do is, now we generate random multiplicand and multiplier. Now multiplicand is like if you have 7 times 5, the multiplicand is that, the multiplier is that. Okay, and then you can actually specify, once you generate random numbers, these random numbers must be between, what's the number? Your multiplication table starts at 1 and ends at 12, so it must be between 1 to 12. And then when you generate 2 sets of numbers, then afterwards you must calculate now the actual product. So we know that 7 times 5 is now 35. So there must be a formula to actually calculate the product. So product is the variable name that I've asked to give, and then that must store the result of the actual multiplicand and the multiplier that you randomly generated. Okay, products stores the correct answer. And then what you have to do is now take that correct answer and put into a random location. Now to do that, we first have to generate a random number. So next step is generate a random index. Okay, that index goes from what? 0 to 4. Okay, so now that is from 0 to 4. Then once you generate a random index, right, and that variable is called index, go into the array num on balloons, right, and store the actual 35 or the product in index. Okay, so in this example, if I was to write that num on balloons, because I don't want to give you the solution, I'm just explaining one instance of it. Num on balloons will become excuse me, num on balloons will become, what's the index? Where do we store this? Because we don't want to store the answer in the same location every time, so that's why we are generating that randomly. Let's say the random number generated was 3, or no, sorry, in this case it's 1, so we're going to store it in 1, and the answer is the product, which is 35. In fact, in the original example, I might actually put another number, like might be 22, because it doesn't have to be the right answer in the original. When you develop random answers, it doesn't have to be the right one. But after coming here and calculating the amount, then you take a random index and store the answer in the right place. So you could randomly get, let's pretend, let's say the random number is 3, so it will actually store in index 3 the value 35, so it will override that to be 35. Okay, so it's quite interesting how that's the way it works here. So you random numbers originally put in the array, and then random location found, and put the correct answer in there. And after you do the correct answer, let's go to the let's do the next question here, which is this one. Okay, we've done that, and right, that's it. That's actually finished. The method is finished. But now don't forget to do these bits, which is including comments, one-line comments and documentation comments to explain the code you added for the entire program. So everywhere that I've actually put in one-line comments to explain where to put what question number, and extra lines of code that you write, I would really appreciate, and you would get marks, if you would put one-line comments on everything that you added. Every line. Okay, now then if it compiles successfully without any syntax errors, you get 4 marks. And I won't actually go through and check the number of syntax errors and say, oh, I might give 1 for you and 2 for another person. No, if it's either 0 or 4. If you compile successfully, you got 4 marks. If there's even 1 syntax error, it's 0 marks. Okay, and the indenting, all code correctly. Now I'm very happy to see that you have done so well in this. You have been pushed to do this, and you have actually all learned it. I'm very happy with this indenting. Okay, and next thing is add your first name and last name in documentation part of all the 3 files that you're submitting. Okay, user input output, scoreboard, and balloon world. You must put it into all of them. Your name, first name and last name. Now the other thing I would like to suggest is do not play with any other code that you were not asked to play with, because you might miss up the whole program. Then if you do, you go and download from the original file again, but answer the questions, and then once you've successfully done it, then you can play any amount with it.